Good evening, my friends. I just left the theater after seeing the documentary film about Pope Francis called Pope Francis, a Man of His Word. I was deeply impressed. It is an exciting documentary, inspiring and instructive. I learned a lot of things. I learned a lot in the short hour and a half that the film lasts, and I will try to summarize the 5 or 6 points that most impressed me. The first aspect that caught my attention and that marks the conductive threads of the production is the Pope's profound admiration for St. Francis of Assisi. This admiration goes beyond devotion and leads to the practice of his life, with the example of poverty, love, and solidarity that the Saint of Assisi professed. Hence also its position in the face of climate change and ecological issues, which makes us realize that we are not the masters of the earth, but its guardians. We have a moral responsibility that goes beyond religion and business, that obliges us to act responsibly with respect to our planet. It's the only one we have. Francis deeply criticized the Catholic Church and society in general. He talks about the importance of dialogue in human relationships at any level. He explains that we live in a world of the deaf and that the Catholic is a church of the deaf. Priests should not talk so much, but rather listen in order to understand the circumstances of the faithful and be able to support them. Francis assumes his positions with clarity and forcefulness, and this, in the light of traditional Catholicism, are revolutionary. He talks about many topics, but these are 2 that really impress me. His reference to homosexuality and the humility with which he affirms that neither he or anyone has the authority to judge those who are homosexuals. These, he says, clearly and loudly, there are plenty of interpretation of his words made by high hierarchs of the church when the Pope addresses in a different way their beliefs and outlines new positions. Also, his explicit condemnation of pedophile priests who have abused children and his doctrine of zero tolerance contrasts with many Catholic leaders who softly and lukewarmly condemn those who commit pedophilia. His reference to the unity of the churches is also a strong message. He has met with the leaders of all religions and accepts that we are all children of the same God, and there is no difference in the God of the Muslims and in the God of the Catholics or other Christian religions. This is a great step, and I hope that it will lead to the end of sectarianism. He states with energy in his own words that we can be members of a religion without proselytism. This is another revolutionary message in light of the Catholic tradition. He also speaks of God's love as a blind love. God loves all beings of creation and all humans equally, and does not love anyone more because they are a priest or a nun, or because they are a Catholic. Before a person who is in another religion, the love of God is the same. It's the same way God loves a Catholic, a Muslim, or even an atheist. This is something that is very hard to believe for Catholics. Francis says that we know very little about the reality of God, and that someday on the face of the earth there will be more light, and that day we will understand things that will fill us with surprises. The love of God is blind, and it's the same for everyone. A strong message. Francis finishes talking about the beauty and summarizes in 2 concepts: the smile and humor. This is what I like the most about his reference to humor. He tells us that beauty expresses itself in many ways, but that for him, the two most special manifestations are a disinterested smile and humor. His daily prayers are finished with a prayer by St. Thomas More, where he asks God to preserve his humor, and whose first sentence is, "God, give me good digestion, but also give me something to digest." This documentary is clearly a legacy of Pope Francis and of his living voice who tells us his way of thinking. It speaks to us of love, it speaks to us of solidarity, it speaks of respect for our neighbor, and not necessarily from the religious aspect, but from a perspective of solidarity and respect for the human being. He speaks openly and unambiguously. He is a wise man, and in that he sums up his speech. He says that in order to be wise, one must be reconciled with the idea of one's own death. If we are not reconciled with our own death, we will not reach wisdom. He has already reconciled himself, I'm sure, you can tell. I highly recommend this documentary. Do not miss it. Know the man behind the Pope Francis, a wise man, a good man, an extremely deep, intelligent man, but who is also authentic and simple, and speaks in a language that we all understand. We don't need anyone else to explain what he says or means. Francis does it himself in a very clear way. Do not miss the opportunity to see this documentary film that premiered today, and hopefully this brief summary will serve to motivate you to see it soon. Again, I remind you, if you like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that we are in contact and you can see more content like this one in the future weeks or days. You will also receive notifications. Please press the red button that says subscribe and the little gray bell to get the notifications so you are aware when new content is in the air. Thank you very much, and I will see you soon. Goodbye. Enjoy the weekend.